just bring you the news. We bring you Africa's heartbeats, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. Africa News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us.
VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Well, hello and welcome to the African News and Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website, www.vop.ng, for fresh and trending news stories. We begin the African News from the story where United States President Donald Trump has denigrated Somalia, qualifying it as barely a country, and describing Somali immigrants as garbage, saying he did not want them in the U.S. Speaking at the end of a cabinet meeting, Trump said some might consider his remarks politically incorrect, but that he did not care. He stated that the government would be going the wrong way if it keeps taking in garbage into the country. He said earlier Tuesday targeted Somali-born Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, calling her and her friends garbage. Earlier, Trump said that refugees were a main cause of social problems in the U.S., citing Minnesota as an example, which he said had been taken over by hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia. He further announced the end of a Somali protection program in Minnesota, which current statistics suggest affects only a few hundred people. His remarks came amid a high-profile Minnesota welfare fraud case in which several dozen Somali residents allegedly defrauded the state system of hundreds of millions of dollars under Governor Tim Walz. Away from that report, Sudanese medics groups have said they are deeply concerned about the unknown fate of dozens of children and women in Babmusa, West Kordofan, after clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, the RSF. According to the Sudan Doctors Network, Babmusa saw heavy fighting and the violence threatens families who previously sought shelter at the Army's 22nd Infantry Division headquarters after RSF forces overran the city. The group added that videos posted by RSF members showed large numbers of women and children at the base in severe humanitarian conditions. The network demanded that their safety and protections be ensured and their transfer to a safe location without being harmed or detained arbitrarily on accusations of having relatives in the army. Still in Sudan, and in another development, reports say the Sudan's government based in Port Sudan has offered Russia its first naval base in Africa and investments in the mining sector, particularly gold, in exchange for weapons. According to the United States and Sudanese officials, the offer includes a 25-year agreement allowing Moscow to deploy up to 300 soldiers and 4 warships, including nuclear-powered vessel, in Port Sudan or another naval facility on the Red Sea. The media said the location provides Russia with a strategic foothold that directly overlooks trade routes passing through the Suez Canal, which handles about 12% of global trade. Also, a senior U.S. official was quoted to have warned that a Russian base in Port Sudan or Libya could expand Moscow's capacity to use force and allow it to operate without restraints. The development comes as the Sudanese military leadership is seeking new sources of arms amid a fierce war with the Rapid Support Forces led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization chief in Sudan preventing people from accessing urgent needed care. He disclosed that in West Kordofan, most of Al Nuhud Hospital have been occupied, leaving the population without proper medical care. Recalling the recent withdrawal decision from Zalingi Hospital in Central Darfur by the Doctors Without Borders after a health worker was killed earlier in the month, Gabriel Jesus noted that since the state of the conflict in April 2023, World Health Organization has verified 198 attacks on healthcare, killing 1,735 healthcare workers and patients and wounding 438. He reminded the perpetrators that attacks on healthcare are a violation of international humanitarian law and must stop, calling on all parties to ensure the protection of patients, health personnel, and health facilities. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the army and Rwandan-backed M23 rebels have traded accusations of ceasefire violations ahead of the White House hosting the accord signing to end fighting in the country's east. Rwanda has denied backing M23, which says it is fighting to protect Tutsi communities in eastern Congo. However, each side is accusing the other of trying to sabotage the peace deal with attacks in South Kivu. The armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo said its troops had come under attack in Kaziba, Katongota, and Luberica from the M23 rebel group and its allies. According to the army spokesperson, Major General Sylvain Ekengi, these attacks clearly show the coalition's intention to sabotage the Washington and Doha peace agreement. On the other hand, leader of the rebel alliance that includes M23 rebel, Corneille Nangaa, said on X that Congolese forces, together with the Burundian army and other allies, had launched attacks in the same province. From the DRC, we go to the Guinea-Bissau, where Electoral Commission said it was unable to complete the November 23rd presidential election process after armed men seized ballots and vote tallies from its offices, while servers storing the results were destroyed. Army officer in the West African state seized power on November the 26th, a day before the Electoral Commission was due to announce the results of the contested election. In a statement, a senior official of the Electoral Commission, Idrissa Diallo, said the commission does not have the material and logistics conditions to follow through with the electoral process. Buildings, including the Electoral Commission's offices, came under attack when the army officers took power. Still in Guinea-Bissau, the ECOWAS Parliament has described the recent military coup d'etat and takeover of power in Guinea-Bissau as an unacceptable assault on democracy and a direct threat to regional and global stability. The Parliament Speaker, Memunatu Ibrahima, made the declaration during the 2025 second ordinary session in Abuja, convened by the Parliament amid rising concerns over West Africa's slip in democratic governance. Ibrahima, whose keynote address was read by the first Deputy Speaker and Nigeria's Deputy Senate President, Jibrin Baru, warned that the coup violated ECOWAS' zero-tolerance principle against unconstitutional changes of government. Noting that the military takeover occurs in spite of a peaceful electoral process, he demanded the full restoration of democratic order in the country. Ibrahima further announced that a high-level session would be held on Wednesday to enable regional parliamentarians exhaustively deliberate on the coup in Guinea-Bissau and chart the way forward. And in Tunisia, family sources say police arrested prominent opposition figure Ayachi Hamami at his home to enforce a 5-year prison term on a conviction for conspiracy against state security. An appeal court handed down jail terms of up to 45 years last week to dozens of opposition leaders, including Hamami, as well as business figures and lawyers on charges of conspiracy to overthrow President Kais Saied. Critics have called the sentences a sign of Saied's increasingly authoritarian rule. Hamami served as Minister of Human Rights in 2020, said in a video posted by his family on his Facebook page that he had spent years fighting for democracy, freedom and rights, vowing to turn his cell into a new front for struggle, where he also plans to go on a hunger strike. Still in the North African region, Egypt is in talks with Washington to co-chair an international conference on early recovery and reconstruction in the Gaza Strip. The diplomatic push comes amid continued Israeli violations and growing concerns that the current ceasefire could collapse. According to sources, the Egyptian initiative may accelerate the conference, which was originally expected to be held at the end of November, and help curb further Israeli bridges while reassuring international partners about funding commitments for Gaza's building. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati with German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul told newsmen in Berlin that Cairo was consulting with the United States to form a joint chairmanship for the Reconstruction Conference. He added that Egypt hoped to reach agreement on a date as soon as possible in cooperation with partners. Meanwhile, Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Nasir said the mediation efforts to maintain the ceasefire were ongoing amid worrying violations, warning that each bridge weakens the truce. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo. Barrister Darlington is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria and a political and public affairs commentator and analyst. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David, and how are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you, Barrister. How are you doing as well?
I'm okay.
All right, then, Barrister, let's go to this story. Of course, it's concerning the post-ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Egypt clearly is at the forefront in trying to co-chair the reconstruction of Gaza with the United States. Some have called this particular conversation between Egypt and Washington as one major step that Egypt is taking, and should this pull through, might just push Egypt as that country that the world should be reckoning with when it comes to these kind of conversation of peace and, of course, stability across all African continents. What's your position with this, Barrister?
Yes, there is nothing too surprising about Egypt playing a role here because of regional and I think religious affinity.
Okay.
It's an Arab state.
Right.
And an Arab country is involved here. So if Egypt, with their proximity to Palestine, is playing a role here, I mean, what is the surprising thing? Besides, it will be a sort of making Israel realize that, look, we were your former slave masters, and we are still strong, and we can play a role. I think that is what is really pushing this thing. They know the history behind the two of them. Egypt will see it as a payback time to tell Israel that we are still your slave master, even though they may not come out to say it. So playing a role here is out of the conviction that yes, Egypt sees itself as a strong Arab neighbor and who can manage a situation to save an Arab state and then give it back to Israel. That's what I think is happening.
Well, Barrister, looking at this diplomatic push coming from Israel now, and of course with a little bit of support from the UAE, the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip, should that place be rebuilt, would it still have that ancestral feel on the part of the Palestinians who would return home at the end of it afterwards?
You know, there is this proverb in Yoruba land, when an Oba's palace gets burnt, it becomes more beautiful after rebuilding it.
Okay.
Is that?
Okay.
So I see it that since the U.S. and other Western allies are involved, that Palestinian, that Gaza Strip might become a beautiful city, a more beautiful city after reconstruction. Because I can see that the whole Western world are all involved because they were the ones that pressurized America and Israel to stop the bombing. And so they will be willing and so happy with the entire Arab nations, including, what's it called, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and these are wealthy nations in the Middle East. So Gaza will become more beautiful.
Well, again, economically, that would also be a plus on the path of the Palestinians, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, they are going to bring them back, give them all they need to stand on their feet, because we are talking of a two-state solution now. We did rebuilding. It means that eventually Israel and Hamas will agree for a two-state solution, so that the skirmishes will stop. In fact, with what has happened, it will be unthinkable for Hamas to try what they did on October 7th.
Well, Barrister, another concern is being raised in this whole conversation with the fact that external experts have, projected the entire cost of this rebuilding to the tune of $70 billion. And of course, with an unprecedented scope requiring diversified donor coalition. Would this coalition and, of course, donor be able to raise this kind of figure because of what we're looking at here?
Look, what is 70,000?
70 billion euro, Barrister.
Oh, look, that thing is peanut. That thing is peanut to Saudi Arabia alone. Saudi Arabia. Not to talk of when the entire Arab states and the Western world. I mean, that money is nothing to them now. It's nothing, seriously. It's peanut. America can pick the bill. America can pick that bill and it will not touch their economy. So what are you saying? It's nothing. I see that, yes, this is for the reconstruction, but the rehabilitation will take more.
Okay.
Yeah, it will take more because Palestine or the people of Gaza need to be rehabilitated. They need to start their life afresh. Institutions need to be rebuilt and all that. So that money is just to reconstruct the place. Maybe have structures and the shelter. But I know that over $100 billion is involved here. By the time you put everything together, over $100 billion. But it is nothing compared to what the Western world is spent after the Second World War to rehabilitate Poland and other nations that Hitler terrorized.
Yes. So rehabilitation now you think is going to cost even much more than this particular figure?
Yes, it will.
But again, when rehabilitating these people, is that the possibility that the mindset of what happened before now would still be the mindset that these Palestinians will be going into that same place with? Or would they have a changed mindset?
Well, what will happen is that, they are going to be more cautious now. You know, that belligerent attitude by Hamas, I think they will caution them not to, always thinking of fighting Israel, always thinking of that mindset will completely change. They will not be aggressive again to their neighbors. That's what I think, and that's what is going to happen.
All right, then let's move to another conversation, Barrister, because of time. In Tunisia right now, President Kais Saied is clearly using the might of the judicial system to clamp down on opposition. Interestingly, opposition figure Ayachi Hamani have been handed a 5-year prison term and, of course, in conviction for conspiracy against state security. In fact, appeal court handed down jail terms to up to 45 years last week to dozens of opposition leaders, including Hamani, as it stands, Barrister, using justice to become a weaponization for sitting figures like the president. What do you think would be the outlook of the next election in Tunisia? Should there be any? Because we hear now that opposition figures are presently pulling down and say they are not even going to contest anything with Kais Saied in Tunisia.
If you are trying to hound the opposition from contesting election, then you are looking for a one-party state, which is even more dangerous.
How deadly is a one-party state, Barrister?
Sorry?
How deadly is a one-party state, particularly in the states where they say they have democracy?
You are looking for a dictatorship that is supreme and all. That is the danger here. That means nobody will criticize you. Nobody will question you. You are free to decide who will die and who will live. That is the danger of one-party states. No opposition. Meanwhile, you claim you are in a democracy where everybody have a right to say or do what he wants. It's no longer there. So a one-party state is a recipe for what? For anarchy, for coup, for chaos. Because at a point, this dictator will become so powerful and so dictatorial that people will no longer cope. And they will burst out one day. Maybe there may be a revolution in that country.
Well, Barrister, President Saied have been accused of increasingly having to clamp down on opposition. Clearly, the people are calling it authoritarian rule as it stands. What, again, is the implication of this? Now, you also recall that Hamani he did serve as a humanitarian, human rights minister in 2020. Should this kind of person be a victim of,
in fact, of what he was fighting for?
Yes.
And now that will tell you the contradiction. And maybe those he offended when he was in that ministry will say, "Oh, serves you right," you know. In fact, that is a very big contradiction. A man fighting for human rights now have his own human rights abused, withdrawn. You know, he can no longer defend what he was fighting for before. So it's very dangerous. What this man is trying to do in Tunisia is to create a one-party state. In fact, it's like he doesn't want the opposition, like most African leaders. And when you have this kind of mindset, it shows that you have failed as a government. It shows that you have nothing to offer. If you are a champion, if you truly know that yes, you have performed, you are what you claim to be, allow others to challenge you. Allow people to choose between you and other people. That is when you know that yes, you are a champion. No, if you have many opposition coming in to contest election with you, and eventually you won them in a free and fair election, then you are the champion.
Now, Barrister, as it stands, Hamani has decided to turn his prison cell into a new front for struggle, and clearly saying that he's going to go on a hunger strike. Should this happen, are we looking at some Arab Spring reversal test in the midst of all of this?
Look, I will advise that man to eat too, because he may die of hunger strike or even have ulcer. And the man in power will continue. In a situation like this, you have to preserve your life so that you will see a glorious dawn tomorrow.
Should he do this, Barrister, would the ICC consider President Said as a victim of that particular circumstance?
That is why this man should be alive and stop this hunger strike, because anything can happen. Let him continue. By the time he steps down, then he will be a candidate of ICC for the human rights violation and people he killed and all that. And it is people that will make this possible. If there is nobody in Tunisia to champion this cause, the ICC may not do anything. You need to present your case before them for them to act. So if the opposition are now too afraid or all in prison that nobody could do anything, then you don't expect ICC to just go into there and arrest the man. No. People will bring it up. But when you have a critical mass of people saying, this one is too much, it is the people that will make the ICC to act.
Barrister, the appeal court in Tunisia handed down jail terms up to 45 years last week to dozens of opposition leaders, including Hamani, and of course, well-known business figures and lawyers did get these charges last week precisely. And as it stands, what is the measurable cost for these mass convictions, Barrister?
It is economic denial to the people, because these people are they are strong men in their own right, in the businesses they are doing and all that.
Right.
They have people that are following them. That means, economically speaking, Tunisia is losing out. Then, politically, the contributions of these people have been taken away. They may not give the people the direction that they needed. Are you getting what I'm saying? So, the president is doing himself harm. Serious harm, because the people within will start grumbling. Maybe people that are the followers of these people, they clamp into prison. They too will be grumbling. They may be thinking of so many things. The military may not be too happy with the man, So the man is creating enemies for himself, but he doesn't know. There's no way what he did will be sustained. If there's anything now, they will first of all go and release those people. That's the truth.
Okay.
Yes, you know that in Africa, it is always the election that causes problem. Yes, so this man, he didn't learn from history.
Okay, now, Barrister, let me come to the part that really concerns you, even as a lawyer now. And as it stands, Tunisia, is there the possibility that the government is going to, publish a verifiable chain of custody record for evidences used to justifying the 5 to 45-year jail sentences that were handed over to these individuals? Is there the possibility that the judiciary can't publish that for the people to see?
Already, the judiciary in Tunisia has already been compromised, just like in other African states. When a dictator is in charge, that's the first thing they do. The judiciary and the legislature, they make sure these two institutions are compromised, so that whatever the president wants, they will do. Whatever he says will come to pass. to justify his action. So if the legislature and the judiciary has validated the actions they took, that these people want to topple the government, they are planning insurrection, they want to sabotage, so it's a question of drawing up the charges and then go ahead with it. So will you go and challenge them?
Huge question, Barrister. But let's take this conversation to the West African country that just slid into a coup and, of course, military rule, as it were. Guinea-Bissau, Barrister. The Electoral Commission has said that it was unable to complete the November 23rd presidential election process after armed men, of course, seized ballot box and vote tallies from its offices, while servers storing the results were destroyed. Barrister, from your perspective as an analyst, I'm not even going to talk as a lawyer now because we'll get to that point, having to see military officers go into Electoral Commission offices and destroying things like this, what does that portend for democratic rule in that country?
It means that the military have no patience for the shenanigans of the politicians. They have seen how these people were misbehaving in the name of election, and they got angry. That is the truth. Or I think that one of the contestants know that he has lost the election and he invited the military. These are two possibilities. When Jonathan came back and was telling us that it was a ceremonial coup, this and that, was not. Look, a coup happened there. For the army to topple a civilian government is a coup. So trying to paint it as what is ceremonial here? Ceremonial, and the electoral umpire told you that their office was under attack by the military. That all their offices was destroyed and all that. And you are saying it was what is ceremonial here? There is nothing ceremonial as long as the military have taken over. It's a coup. And so the military have no patience by their training for these things politicians are doing. That is what I think happened here. If that election was going in the right direction, I don't think anybody will raise any finger now. I don't think so.
Now, Barrister, let's talk about sanctions with bites here, because if zero tolerance is real on the part of ECOWAS now, and of course the questions are being raised, what automatic time-bound penalties, asset freezings, and of course trade restrictions and even travel ban was placed on these country within the 7 days space, and then why did mediation not really yield a major breakthrough?
It did, because the coup plotters, the military have given a 1-year window to return back to civilian administration. That was one of the gains of the discussion.
Well, some have said that if they enjoy power, they might not want to relinquish power.
No, let's get to the bridge before we now think of crossing it. Since they made that commitment, then let's give them the benefit of doubt. Then 2, AU have lost its power to rein in their members. AU have no power to mediate in anything. If they do, Rwanda and the DRC will not be going to America to sign peace agreement, true or false? If they do, RSF and the Sudan will not be talking of, Donald Trump will not be talking of mediating.
Right.
So if they do, in fact, America will not be talking to Nigerian officials on what to do and what not to do to bring terrorism under control. So AU is not there. Literally, America is running Africa now. That's the meaning. Donald Trump is running Africa now. He's dictating to African leaders what to do to stop killing themselves. Is it not a big shame? AU, that China gave them a building. AU, China built their head office in Addis Ababa. Is that not a very big shame for a continent? This is not how to accept, what do I call it now, favor. This is no longer favor. This is an insult. David, this is an insult.
But why do you think, as it stands, AU does not have that bite again to clamp down major sanctions on these kind of states?
You know,
is it about the not having strong men, just like we used to have in the person of Nelson Mandela and the likes? Is it about not having those kind of men?
The real Africans are gone. They are no longer alive, seriously. The real Africans that would have taken Africa to the next level of development, they are no longer here. What you have here are opportunists and plunderers in different African states. That's what we have here. Different African states. Their leaders are just plunderers. They are not there to help their country develop. They are not there to help Africa develop. Look around you now. Who is that statesman in Africa that you can be proud of? I mean, somebody in the order of Mandela or Julius Nyerere. Where are they? Please mention. Just mention one person. You can see. You can see you don't have any. That is a very, very, very sad development in Africa. Nobody again, nobody. The people that you think that they, with the resources they have, they can do something. They're even the worst off. They're even the worst off.
Who are you talking about, Barrister?
South Africa and Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
Where are they? Ramaphosa is having it rough with Donald Trump. To the extent that the G20 meeting, Donald Trump said he will not invite them. They are having it rough. Who else in Africa?
Oh, well,
the whole of Arab states in the north, you can see what is going on there, from Libya to Tunisia. Where? Who?
Well, Barrister, because of time, really, I would love to get your opinion also on the fact that Sudan has just offered Russia a military base, gold for weapons.
Of course, yeah. Our resources, yes. Yes, they will take it away, yes. They will take it to develop their country. You can imagine, just for a military base, a military base.
And then gold for weapons, Barrister.
It's not bringing anything.
Resources for weapons.
They are not giving you something that will help you develop, but something that will help you kill yourself. David, have you seen how people think? Russia is not bringing anything that will bring development, but guns.
But this is the Sudanese government offering to give them this particular sport. Should that be the problem of Russia?
It should be. I'm not joking, because why are you bringing guns for him to kill his people and kill him? Do you know what it means?
But that's what he demanded, the state wants.
Are you serious? Okay. Somebody said you should give him poison and you offered it to him, Abi. And after he said, after all, he asked for it.
But the situation with the Sudanese and the RSF is one that is disturbing for them to want more weapons.
Instead of Russia to seek a way of helping Sudan to stop this rebel and what they are doing, he's offering them arms. Arms to continue the killing. Is that not true? Is that helping him? No. Because the RSF will now seek for their own partner, and maybe China or any other country who will now supply. Meanwhile, that place is now going to be a battleground between Russia and America.
All right, then, Barrister,
battleground.
Barrister, because of our time, really, in one sentence, Donald Trump calling Somalian immigrants garbage. Your position?
Of course. What are you before? Are you not the one that ran there for soccer? Even Somalia, does it exist? Does Somalia have a government?
All right, then, Barrister.
That is Africa for you. They will keep embarrassing us everywhere.
Well, unfortunately, because of our time, really,
if they have done well, okay, when they went there, they said they committed state fraud, because Minnesota accepted them. That was the only state that brought in a lot of Somalians, because they have a policy to rehabilitate Somalians. And when they got there now, because of hunger, because of that poverty mentality, they started defrauding the state. And you think Donald Trump will spare you hundreds of millions of dollars.
All right, then.
So that is Somalia for you. Whenever you bring a hungry man into your house, just make sure that your store is locked. If not, that is the first place to go to.
Well, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African News this beautiful afternoon. We've been talking with Barrister Darlington Agumo, who is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria, and a political and public affairs analyst and commentator. Once again, Barrister, thank you so very much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, more stories on the African news will be up next. Please do stay with us. We're glad to have you back. It is still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. Kenya's military said it has opened investigations into several Kenyan Defense Forces personnel accused of stealing and concealing parts of a major methamphetamine shipment intercepted during a multi-agency operation off the country's coast. According to the KDF, the allegations stem from a 1,024-kilogram crystal meth cargo seized on October the 25th when a dhow was intercepted at sea and the narcotics were offloaded ashore under security escort. The military said the claims surfaced shortly after the operation, prompting an internal review. Well, moving on to other stories, Ghana's Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has announced a 9.86% increase in electricity tariff across all customer categories and a 15.92% upward review of water tariffs for all classes, effect from January 1st, 2026. Considering the major tariff review, this will remain a force from 2026 to 2030 in line with the Commission's multi-year tariff review order regime. The Commission disclosed that the decision followed extensive investment hearings, stakeholder consultations, and regional public hearings. And from that particular story, we go straight talking African business stories. Traxon says it will invest 3.4 billion rand, about $199 million, in the new locomotives and wagons as the freight company prepares to run trains on South Africa's main lines for the first time. This comes after reforms opened the network to private operators. The government has allowed private firms to use Transnet Freight Rail Network as the state-owned operator has struggled to provide reliable services. The investment by Traxon, which operates in 10 African countries, signals growing private sector confidence in rail reforms and is boosting to efforts to shift cargo from road to rail. This added capacity could help ease a national shortfall that has weighed on commodity exporters. The investment includes 1.8 billion rand on 46 diesel electric locomotive and 1.6 billion rand on about 920 wagons. The locomotives are expected to start operating within the next 12 months. The new trains will have the capacity to meet about 5% of demand, according to Traxon's chief executive, James Hawley. And from that particular business story, we'll wrap up the African news with some sports stories. Tottenham Hotspur accounting their blessings after Ghana's failure to qualify for the 2026 African Cup of Nations spared them from losing Mohamed Kudus during the crucial festive period. The biennial tourney kicks off in Morocco on December the 21st and runs until January the 18th, 2026, meaning that Africa's biggest talents will miss key domestic and European fixtures during the busiest stretch of the Premier League calendar. Depending on how deep players progress into the African competition, clubs could see their African representative miss Champions League and Europa League fixtures, as well as FA Cup and Carabao Cup matches. For Tottenham Hotspur, the situation could have been significantly worse, with Jess Bissouma, to have featured for Mali, had an ankle injury not ruled him out, while Papi Sarr is expected to represent Senegal. However, Ghana's failure to qualify has become a massive stroke of fortune for Thomas Frank, and Kudus, having been one of Tottenham's few bright spots this season following his summer arrival from West Ham. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we're at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.